Hi there, my name's Bella. I'm one of the team members at Everbility, and I wanted to talk through how to get started on Everbility, whether A, you've just started your trial, or B, you've become a paid user and you're not too sure what to do next. So let's take a look at the Everbility dashboard. I have accessed Everbility by typing everbility.com into my laptop, and you can do the same for your work tablet, your phone, and your laptop. All you need is an internet connection and you can get started. So here I can see that I've got my dashboard. You can see on the left-hand side, you have a navigation bar in purple. You can click on the Everbility logo to take you back to this page, or you can also click under personal clients and it will take you back to your client page. Under personal, you will also see your templates. I'm going to talk about those in a moment. And under tools, you can see the two tools of Everbility, which are those AI tools being Assistant and Writer. Down the bottom, we can see help and resources. And if I click on that, we have the option to choose a walkthrough, and this will walk through all of the different features of Everbility. We can choose the guides, which are step-by-step instructions on all of the features. Here is a shortcut to the community templates, which we're going to talk about later. You've got the option to book a meeting, you can email us, and you can chat with us about any questions that you have about using Everbility. Lastly, before we get started, you can also see on the top right-hand corner, if you are in a trial, you can see how many days you have remaining on your trial. And then if you click on the person icon, you can see the email address that you have used, and you can also click on Manage Account to check your security. And if you wanted to update your password, you can also change your AI preferences. That includes your language and the funding model that you're using. And you can see all the merge tags here. But once we talk about merge tags a little bit more, that's going to make a little bit more sense. You can also head into billings. And if you wanted to use Everbility alongside your colleagues, there is the option to create an organization. And what that means is you can share clients and you can share templates across Everbility users. This demonstration isn't going to talk about that too much. We're just going to get into the basics of using Everbility. But please reach out if you would like to create an organization. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add our clients. So we can click on Add New Client. You can add in their first name, last name, and click Add. So let's do that now. I'm going to click Add, and then I can see that Bella M has appeared in my client list. I can change the order of my clients by clicking on the up and down arrows, which will change them from ascending and descending alphabetical order. And I can also filter my clients because obviously over time, we might have a long list of clients. So we can start by entering in their name and we can find them here. You can also click the X to reset. So under each of our clients, we have a shortcut to use the AI tools mentioned in the left-hand menu. We have Assistant and Writer, and we also have their client data. So this is almost like their client file on Everbility, and we're going to click into that soon. The one thing that I want to show you before that is you can always delete a client. You can click the delete, and then they will be removed off your Everbility account. So let's head into client data. So here I've entered Bella's folder. I can change Bella's name here if I needed to. And what I can see under Bella's folder is our notes, our collection of documents, conversations, and recordings. So under notes, these are going to be all of your client notes that you store about the client. The documents are going to be all of the documents generated through using Writer. The conversations are all of the conversations that have included the client that you have created in Assistant. And recordings is going to include all of the transcription recordings that you have stored on Everbility. So let's go back into notes. When we're talking about notes, we're not just talking about SOAP notes or progress notes. We're talking about pieces of information about the client, which is important, that can be used for a number of different document types. The main aim with Everbility is it's going to streamline the way we document because we're going to capture information like, for example, medical diagnoses, therapy programs, and other information. And then we can use this information again and again. So as an example, what we could do on Everbility is we could create a brain dump from a therapy session. Let's say we've gone out to see our client and we wanted to talk about what happened at that session, what was documented, how the session went, and the progress plan moving forward. And we can convert that session note into a progress note. But then later down the track, we can also convert that session as a part of a number of notes into a more comprehensive document, like a progress report or an assessment or a letter to a family, and so on and so forth. So the idea that we're capturing information means that Everbility will be able to store a lot of client information, which then can then be used for a number of different documents for that client. So the way that we can capture information is by uploading data. So if you click on the upload data button, you have the option to upload audio recordings. So this might be sessions that you've already recorded. Perhaps it's a meeting with a family or a client. Perhaps it is a case conference with other stakeholders who are supporting the client. You can upload those here. You also have the option of uploading a PDF. So this might be your own previous documents about the client, or this might be external therapy reports or pediatrician reports, doctor's reports, and so on and so forth. So you can upload those PDFs here. Another way that you can capture information is by transcribing notes. So if I click on the transcribe new note, that's going to take me to the transcription voice to text view. And what I can see down the bottom is it's already started to record my voice. So it records 240 minutes per note, which is really great because if you're a therapist who's going out to see a client, you might record the session in action, or you might do your therapy session and then later on you might sit in your car, or when you're back at the clinic, you might then talk about what happened in your therapy session, what were the aims, what were the results, and then what are those next action plans. And you can see that it has started to record my voice, so it records in large chunks. So what I'm going to do now is, let's say I've finished, I'm going to click on the voice to text button again. I'm going to click stop. So now it has finished transcribing. I can then see that it had auto saved. I'm going to add a title. So let's say I'm going to call this a therapy session, the 3rd of Feb. It has auto-saved once I add in the title. I can also change or add more to this transcription. I could add extra notes in dot point form. I could type extra information, or I could also click on the transcribe button again and begin a second transcription in the same note. So let's say I'm finished. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click close. And I can see in my notes list that the therapy session, the 3rd of the 2nd, 2025, is stored here. Awesome. Okay, so next up, I'm going to show you capturing information through create a new note. So I'm going to click on create new note. It comes up with the same view. You can also transcribe by clicking on the voice to text button, but you can also add in text as I did before through typing. I want to give you an example of another client. So I'm going to go back. I clicked on the Everbility logo. I'm going to go into Sarah Stevens, click on client data, and then I'm going to click on the example session note here. Click edit, and here I can see almost what we call a brain dump of a therapy session. So here I can see that there isn't full sentence structure. We don't have to have perfect punctuation and grammar. It's mainly putting in the key pieces of information into this note, because we're going to convert this captured information into the document type that we want when we head into Writer. So let's just scroll through really slowly. We can see we have the age of the client. We've got some medical history, diagnostic history. We have some information about their education and work. We've got some copied and pasted NDIS goals, which is a funding body in Australia. You might also choose to upload, with consent from the client, the NDIS plan through upload data. We've got some pieces of information about ADLs, dressing, medication, eating, etc. So what we want to show here is that it doesn't have to be that perfect sentence structure, it just has to be the key information. And over time, we collect multiple session notes. This provides Everbility with a comprehensive look at your client, and then that will be really helpful for the documents that you produce. Let's click close. And now that we've captured information, we're going to start to use AI. So we're going to use Writer. Let's go into Tools, Writer. But like I showed you before, I'm going to go into the client list, You can also choose to go into Writer through the shortcut. What that means with the shortcut is that if I go into Writer on the left-hand side, I can see 3 panels. I've got our uncategorized clients. This is where I'm going to choose the client. I've got notes and documents. So if I go through the left-hand side, I'm going to choose my client. If I go through the shortcut, my client has already been chosen. So it's just a little shortcut. Great. So we've chosen our client. I'm going to collapse the note. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to choose a template. So as an example, we don't have any templates because we've just gotten started, right? We're going to talk about creating templates in a moment, but to show you Writer, I'm going to copy one of the community templates. So I've gone onto the Everbility logo to bring me back to my client page. I'm going to go into templates. I'm actually going to use a community template, which is AI-powered templates that have already been created. I think the functional capacity assessment will be great to show you. So first I'm going to view it. Yep, I'm happy with that. I'm going to copy it across to my template bank, which it has now automatically taken me there. And I can see the functional capacity assessment has now been added to my template bank. So let's go back into Writer. I've already chosen Sarah. I now need to choose the document from my template bank. I'm going to choose the functional capacity assessment, which I can see here. And then I'm going to expand the notes section, and I'm going to choose the notes that I want to bring across, that I want Everbility to pull information from. So obviously a functional capacity assessment is a really big document, so it requires a lot of notes. Obviously this is just a demonstration of how to use Everbility. What I will do is I can either choose to use all of the notes. I might deselect a note if I don't want to include the untitled note, or I can choose however many as I'd like. Over time, as you start to gain a lot of notes in your client notes, you will have a long list. What you can also do is you can show selected and you can clear your selection. But let's say, for example, I want to choose this example session note for the functional capacity assessment. If I want to view the note in this screen, I can click on the text, and then our example session note has popped up that we just saw. Great, so I'm ready to go. I'm ready to generate a document in Writer, selected my client, selected my document template, selected the notes that I want. And now what I can do is I can either choose to click on the star lightning bolt icon here to generate the full document, or I can click on the generate paragraph by paragraph or instruction by instruction. And some people like to do that if they want to generate a certain section and then they want to edit it and then move along. But for today, we just want to show generating the whole document. We're going to click on the lightning bolt icon and we can see that it has started generating. So these blue sections are merge tags. Again, we'll talk about this in a moment. This is pulling information from the client that it knows. So it knew the first and last name, didn't know the NDIS number. That's okay. We'll come back to that in a moment. What it has now done is it has changed the green sections, which were previously instructions, and it has pulled across that information and filled in the criteria. If it doesn't have a piece of information, it will tell you. So it will let you know that it doesn't have that piece of information. And then you can choose to either add the client note and regenerate, or you can add it in yourself. So let's just scroll through. I'm going to quickly scroll through to the end just to show you. Alrighty, so let's say we're finished with this functional capacity assessment. I'm just going to add my name in there, and then I'm ready to go. If I'm ready, I can click on the down arrow to export. I'm going to click and then click on docx, and it will download as a docx, a Word doc, and then you can add in your logo and your header and all of the aesthetics for your practice or your clinic outside of Everbility. And in the future, Everbility is going to have on their roadmap to include that within the platform, but at the moment, that is an additional step. Let's talk about editing the document. So I'm going to scroll right back up to the top, or if I would like a little shortcut, I can click on the scroll to top arrow. So let's scroll through the document and see what we need to edit. So like I mentioned, the merge tags have been included for first name and last name. Let's say the last name's incorrect. I can click on that and I can adjust it. Let's say it's Stevens. I can click update and it will update that piece of information for next time. Similar, if it doesn't have the piece of information, we can click on NDIS number. For example, we can add her NDIS number in and click update and it will remember it for next time. With the green sections, these are the instructions. So let's say it's created the background information about Sarah and we are not too happy with it. We would like to tweak it a little bit. What we can do is we can click on the green part. You can click on any part of the document to edit. We can click on the green part and we can add in our changes. What we can also do is we can edit with AI, and that means that we are going to use AI to further edit our document. We're going to highlight the part of the document that we want to edit. We're going to click on the pencil icon, which says edit with AI, and then we're going to give another instruction. So this might be make this more comprehensive, simplify this section, make it sound more friendly. We can change the tone. Maybe it's not a functional capacity assessment. Maybe it's a letter to a family and we need a more friendly tone. So you can ask Everbility to adapt that here. Maybe it's left out a piece of information, a piece of crucial information that you think is really important to be in this section. You can ask it to add that part in. So let's just say that we want to summarize this. It's just a very simple editing instruction. Summarize this section. We click on edit. It's going to rewrite the part that you have asked. It's summarized it. If we're happy with the edited version, we can click on the X, the cross, or if we want to go back to what was previously created, we can click on the revert back. So that's one way that you can edit your document and it auto saves, as you can see. The next thing that we can do is we can also verify the AI. So that means that we can verify what has been created to see where did that information come from. So this is quite a person-centered section of the report. It's talking about Sarah's employment and education. But let's say, for example, you have a section in the report where you need to justify your clinical reasoning and why you're recommending X, Y, Z. Maybe it's a piece of equipment, maybe it's a therapy modality, maybe it's something else. What you can do is you can highlight the section that has been generated. You can click on the magnifying glass or verify the selection. And if you just scroll down a little further, you can see that you have the options to verify for the web, verify for research, verify in the notes. So where on the left-hand side did this piece of information come from? Obviously, there's one note selected, so I'll unselect that. We know where this information has come from. And you also have the option to verify for NDIS, helpful NDIS links. So let's click search. It might, because it's a person-centered paragraph, it might not come up with too much research, but we can see helpful web pages and we can see NDIS links too. So take a look, give that a go when you're ready, and let us know if you have any further questions about the verifying AI. So now we have generated a long form document. This is a longer comprehensive assessment. I'm going to show you an example of taking that example session note, and maybe you don't want it to be the long report. Instead, we might want it to be the SOAP note. Let's go back over to templates. I'm showing you this from the get-go because this is what you might need to do to get started. We're going to go into community templates, and I actually want to use these tags at the top. I'm going to search for note, occupational therapy. We've got the OT session progress note template. That sounds good to me. Let's view it. So here it is one long instruction that encompasses everything. I think I'm happy with that. I can always tweak it in my templates. So I'm going to click copy. For now, I won't tweak it. I'm going to go back into Writer and show you how I'm going to use it. So let's head back into Writer. We've got a client. Now we have our document type, our OT session progress note. I'm going to give it a moment, and then I'm going to highlight, okay, we did that. We had that example session note. I'm going to click on that. expand my note, click on the name to see, yep, that's the one that I want to convert to the session note, and then I can click generate document. We'll just give it a moment, collapse that so we can see. Got to wait till it says saved up the top here. So that's an example of how we can take that piece of information and turn it into a progress note. So that was an example session note. Let's close this and let's deselect that, and we're going to open up our notes. I'm going to close that. We can actually use our transcription within Writer. So let's say I want that SOAP note. I've gone and done my therapy session. I'm sitting down in my car. I'm sitting down in my clinic. I'm going to choose the OT session progress note as an example. I can click on the transcribe, and within Writer, I also have the option to either dictate the meeting without headphones, or let's say I'm doing a Zoom call and we've both got our headphones on. I can transcribe the audio that I am saying, but also the audio of the participant. And if we click on meeting with headphones, it will ask us to choose the Zoom or Windows or whoever is hosting the call. It will ask us to choose the window on our laptop, and then it will organize that information in terms of who's saying what in host and participant. So as an example, when I'm talking, it will say host and it will say whatever Bella is saying, and then the participant talks and it will say participant, and it will organize the dialogue so that it's almost in script format. So that's meeting with headphones. You can also choose to store the recording on your device. If you don't want that, you can deselect. If you want that, it is automatically selected and it lives in Everbility in the recordings folder under client data. So let's say I want to dictate the meeting without headphones. It has a very similar view to the client data transcription button that we just had a look at before. Again, 240 minutes per note. And what I can do here is, once I'm happy with my transcription, I can either choose to stop, maybe I need to edit it, and then I can click on the generate. Or if I just want to go from transcribing to the note being formed, I can click on the lightning bolt button, which will stop the transcription and generate in that one click. So that's an example of using Writer for a longer report and also Writer for a shorter progress note. But there are many different document types that we can use in Everbility. I'm going to click on the Everbility logo. I'm going to go into templates, and let's take a look at the types of templates. We've already had a look at community templates, which we can do so again. So when you first get started, we've got Everbility automatically comes up with a page that is called All Therapists How to Set Up a Template. Let's click on Edit to view it. And this has some information about merge tags, about prompting, about tables, and the email if you will need further support. You can also click on guides, which will take you to step-by-step instructions on how to make a template. So let's head back out to templates. So that was the how-to. I'll show you now. You can click on community templates as we did before. You can search templates that you would like, and these are organized by discipline and document type as mentioned before. So let's scroll up to the top. Let's say you want a physiotherapy. Let's say you're happy with that. You want to scroll through and have a look. You can further refine by clicking on note, or you can click on report as an example and have a look through. And we're constantly adding to the community template. So if you do have one that you're thinking, oh, I wish Everbility did have this document in the community templates, feel free to click on help and resources and chat with us and let us know, because we are constantly adding to these as Everbility grows and grows. Let's say that you're not interested in the templates at the moment. You have a particular template that you use in your reports and you want to place that onto Everbility. Let's go back to templates. We're going to click on add new template. Again, there's the option to copy a community template, but we're actually going to start from scratch. So now we're in the blank template. We might name it first. So I'm going to call it, let's say I'm creating a sensory processing report template. and I've already got one that I'm happy with. It's a completed report, and I'm going to copy and paste it into Everbility. So this is obviously, again, a demonstration. So this isn't any client information. What we can do now is we can choose to build out this template. So let's say we want to add the merge tags. We can click on the plus sign. So we can click on plus, add tag, first name, space, plus add tag, last name. We can click on adding a new merge tag. So let's say date of assessment. We might create a custom tag. We might call it date of assessment, save the tag, and then we're just going to have to click plus, and we can add that again. Or let's say you want to add this information into a table. Instead, what we can do is click on the plus button, add table. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. We have 2 columns, and then we can add this information in. Let's say I'm happy with the table. I'd actually prefer that over adding the client merge tags. I'm just going to delete that. What I need to do now to create this as an instruction and turn it green so that Everbility will input the information in, I'm going to click on these 3 dots and add a column header, which means that I have grayed out this section and it won't be changed when I mark it as an instruction. And next I'm going to click on the Everbility logo to mark as an instruction. The Everbility logo is available in the floating toolbar. It's also available up the top. And then what we can see here is that all of the green sections will be changed to add in the information. I can see here that the client name is grayed out, and I actually need to put the client name in the report. I'm going to click on the 3 dots, remove the row header, and now it's going to place that across. We can give additional instructions into the green section of the table. So let's say, for example, I want the date of assessment to be in this format, and I know that it's definitely me, so I'm going to say state Bella M, and our table is ready to go. We can continue down our template and build this out. What we can also do is, let's say we have a section that has been completed for another client. What we can do is we can highlight the text, click on the robot icon, and what that's going to do is it's going to generate some example instructions. It generates 3 options for us. So option 1, option 2, option 3. Let's say I'm happy with option 3. I'm going to select. It automatically turns it into an instruction, and we can read through and we can tweak it how we would like. If we wanted to write our own instruction, we can definitely do so. Let's say it's for background information. We want to describe the client's background information, and I'm going to say in brackets, including diagnostic information, developmental history, we want social history, home life, etc. I'm going to highlight a part of the text. I'm going to click on the Everbility logo, and it turns it into an instruction. So we can move through our report. We can convert it into a template. And let's say we're ready to go. We're going to, once we're ready to use it, we have titled it Sensory Processing Report Template. I'm going to go into Writer. Let's say I'm ready to go. I've got my Sensory Processing Report template here, which I can use again and again once we put that initial time into creating a template. Let's say I'm creating it for Sarah. I'm going to click on the notes that I would like. If I wanted to view those notes again, I can click on the text of the title and I can see the note. And then I can click on Generate Document. Obviously, I know that there isn't sensory processing information in the example session notes. I'm not going to generate that because it's going to tell me that I don't have any information. So that's an example of how we would create a template and then use the template in Writer. So we've talked about, I've just clicked on the Everbility logo, which has brought me back to the client page. We've talked about adding a new client. We've talked about templates. We've talked about Writer. And now we're going to go into Assistant. So Assistant is a place where we can ask a range of different questions. And there's a lot of different use cases and a lot of reasons why we would use Assistant in our day-to-day of being a therapist. So We can ask it information, we can brainstorm therapy ideas, we can recall information about particular clients. So let's do a little tour of Assistant before we go into how we can use it. So here we can see, similar to the other view in Writer, we can choose a client. If we wanted to ask a general question, we could choose uncategorized, and that means that it's not linked to any client. But if we wanted to see this history of uncategorized, I'm just going to head out to show you that uncategorized is actually one of your clients, and you can find it by clicking on client data. Let's go back into Assistant. Here we've clicked uncategorized. We don't want to ask a question related to one of our clients. We have the text box down the bottom that we can then type into. We also have the option for voice to text, so you can talk to Assistant, you can send the question, or you can click enter. And you can also start a new conversation by clicking on the plus button. Here we also have a question library. So here are some examples of what we can ask. We might use one of those today. We can export the entire conversation into a document, and we can also change the answer settings. So typically it can come up with, Assistant can come up with NDIS links and follow-up questions to help keep that conversation going, and you can choose to select or deselect these. All right, let's use one of the questions in the library. Okay, so we've chosen describe the latest evidence-based practices and interventions in occupational therapy for the treatment of a particular condition. So let's say we want to talk about let's say I want to change that. I'm going to change it to describe the latest evidence-based practices and interventions in occupational therapy for supporting autistic children. And that's a very general request. But we can keep that conversation going, like I've mentioned. Let's say we want to export that conversation. We can also click to export that particular answer. We can also check for sources, and we can also find research. So you can click on the articles and it will take you to the pages. Let's say I now want to talk about a particular client. I can then click on my example, Sarah, and describe ways to support Sarah with her ADLs, particularly cleaning and showering. And even though these are OT examples, Everbility has been designed for a range of allied health professionals, so it can answer questions related to physio, psychology, social work, nursing, music therapy, and many more. So it's given me some examples. What I can do next is I can convert this into, let's say, a session plan. So change this into a session plan for this client for a 60-minute session. We're still using our clinical reasoning to see if this is suitable for the client. And then we can also go into goal setting. We can ask it to create some goals, still using our clinical reasoning to see if it's appropriate for the client. We can ask it to recall information about, maybe you want to know quickly the client's date of birth, the client's NDIS number, the client's diagnoses. You can ask Assistant to write parts of your report. Let's say you haven't got your templates up and running yet. You could ask Everbility to describe the client's background information in a paragraph for a report, as an example. So there's a range of different ways that you can use the Assistant part of Everbility. We will wrap that up. We're going to head back into the Everbility logo to go back into our client page. And just to summarize what we've been talking about, we're going to go into our client data. And then again, like I mentioned earlier, we can see all of the notes that we've created for the client, all of the documents that were created in Writer. We can now see the functional capacity assessment that was written. We can see the OT session progress note, which was created. We can click across to conversations. So we can see the conversation that we just had with Assistant about supporting ADLs for this client, for Sarah. And we can also click across to recordings where we can see the transcription that was transcribed on this date. If we need to enter any of those documents, we can click back onto the purple buttons, or if we want to delete it, we can either choose, especially for the transcription, to download it or delete. Let's go into conversations. We can head back into that conversation. We can click edit, or we can click delete. To go back into the documents, we can click edit or we can delete it. And notes, we can also click edit or delete. And that is a wrap up of using Everbility from the get-go. So if you have any other questions, feel free to contact support@everbility.com, or you can head to either email us. That's the email that you will be taken to when you click on email us. You can also click on the chat with us and you can book a meeting and we can talk more about how you can get the most out of using Everbility for your work as a clinician. Alrighty, bye for now.